Welcome to Empowered by Iron, the podcast for female strength athletes by female strength athletes. We are your hosts, Dr. Kristin Lander from Fiercely Fuel Nutrition Coaching and Dr. Mary Morton, scientist and weightlifter. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Empowered by Iron. This week, we have a mindset episode for you guys. We want to talk about recovering from bad training days.
We all have them.
Yeah.
They're going to happen. We've talked so much about like mindset and positivity and stuff that I think, and we hear so much about that I think that there's this notion that if you have the right mindset and you've done all of this work on like personal growth and all this stuff, that it's going to prevent you from having bad days.
And that's not the case.
It doesn't prevent you, but the right mindset can allow you to stop a bad day from becoming a bad week or a bad month or a bad year.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to say that if you are experiencing a bad day, or let's say you let it turn into a week or whatever, you are not doing anything particularly wrong. Because I think we watch a lot of people be positive all the time and they're happy all the time and everything's fine all the time. If you're having a bad day, it's fine. It happens to everyone. Don't feel like you are some weird anomaly that you can't get your shit together and all of a sudden your day is bad.
Right.
We all have them and it's okay. Just follow what we're going to talk about in the episode about how to take your bad day and not let it become a week, or maybe take that bad week and don't let it become a month.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it's easy for us when we have a bad day to completely sabotage ourselves. Yeah. And I think I see that so much in the strength world, like whether it's training or nutrition or whatever, that people just like, they have one bad day and it spirals out of control.
Mm-hmm. Well, we know about that with nutrition. It's like, if you don't follow your macros one day, well, might as well just fuck the whole week and just start again on Monday.
Right. Don't do that. Nothing resets on Monday.
Yes, it does. Everything resets
The world
on Monday.
resets on Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why we have all these bros who do International Bench Day, and
they
have
only
huge
bench
chests because they only make it to the gym like maybe Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, and that's it. And then legs just never make it there. Anyway,
chicken legs. Okay.
Not about bros.
Yeah. So like just super recently, I had a pretty bad training day for me. Mm-hmm. But it was more than just a bad training day. It was just like not like mentally, I was just not in a good place. And I have no idea why. Mm-hmm. It happened. It happens. Yeah. But I had, my coach warned me this was going to be a tough week of training. It's all like 90% for multiple sets and multiple reps. And I knew that going in, and I had done like my visualization work that I always do, like my mindset work that I always do. I was prepared. I was ready. I wasn't like scared. I wasn't worried. I was ready. Like I had this. And then squats did not go how I wanted them to go. Mm-hmm. I had trouble hitting depth. It was just, they felt really, really hard. I knew they were supposed to be hard. But I think I thought I would perform them better.
Well, yeah, this is your mindset. Your mindset is, that's difficult, but it's not going to be for me. Like that's hard.
Or like
but it
hard, but
be
not
hard.
Impossible.
Yeah. I will say though, because while this was going down, she was texting me and she was sending me videos and she's like, these look horrible. These aren't depth. And I was like, no, they look fine. I mean, she's hitting power lifter depth. We all know that, like, parallel.
Yeah, they were like maybe right at parallel. And I normally squat a little bit lower than that.
No, you squat a lot lower than that. Like, because for those of us who are Olympic weightlifters, we usually go ass to grass. That's just how it is. And so that's where Kristin's background is.
Right.
So now that she's in powerlifting, it's like this whole new thing of like, you just have to hit parallel. And she's always low. She's always like, is this too low? And I'm like, Kristin, you're an Olympic weightlifter. Your low is everyone's like normal.
Yeah. So what felt low to me when I looked at the video was like right at parallel. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. Something's wrong. Like this isn't going right. And I was like texting you. I was texting Stacy. I was texting our other friend, Jared. I was like, what is going on? And I recognized that Like right then and there, I had the potential to let my entire day spiral out of control. And so I'll tell you in a minute what I ended up doing. But I think back to like 23-year-old Kristin and what she would have done. And this is where I recognize a lot of personal growth. And this is why I profess mindset stuff so much to you guys, because you can change this stuff around. Because what I would have done is quite hilarious thinking back. If this is what you do, I'm not making fun of you at all. I'm trying to tell you, you can escape that mindset that puts you into this downward spiral. So what I would have done years ago, I would have quit my training session. I still had deadlifts to do. I had tons of accessory work to do. I would have just quit. I would have tried to carry on, but I would have in my head had this really negative self-talk that I would have convinced myself that like I'm not worthy of calling myself a power lifter and I should just quit and I suck, and I would have ended up just like leaving the gym.
You would have been mentally done. Like you would have tried to go through the motions. And then you're like, ugh, this is completely pointless. I'm done. And you would have left.
Exactly. I would have got home and I would have ate all the junk food. I used to be a really big emotional eater. So I would have completely eaten my feelings and then some. I probably would have picked a fight with my significant other. I probably would have cried over silly things and literally thrown things across the room.
Temper tantrum.
Total temper tantrum. I have red hair. I've learned to contain my temper. I probably would have skipped the whole rest of the week of training. And I would have made excuses. Like I never would have been like, oh, well, because I had a bad day, I'm not going to train this week. I would have just let other things that come up in life that I could use as excuses, I would have used them. Like, oh, work was really busy and now I can't train today or whatever. Like
I'm feeling really tired. It's hot. Yeah.
Exactly. And then at some point, I would have realized how irrational I was being. And I would have been probably really embarrassed and ashamed of it and not told anyone what I had done. And then I would have made up excuses to my coach about why I couldn't train. And then I probably would have assumed that there was something wrong with me because of all of the things I just listed, that I had done those. And I would have continued to feel more ashamed and more isolated, probably continue to eat my emotions. And as you can see,
it's a cycle.
It's a downward spiral that just gets out of control. Because what? Because I hit parallel on my squats. But it was my perception of what was going on. It wasn't actually, when I look back at it, it really wasn't physically a bad day of training.
No.
It was mentally. It was all mental. And so as much as I say like you have to work on your mindset, this stuff might still happen.
Yeah. The squat parallel thing was just the straw that broke the camel's back. I think you were just having a bad day mentally, and you just happened to have to train that day.
Exactly. And so you guys have heard me talk about heart rate variability. My heart rate variability was crap that morning.
In the tank.
It was the lowest score I have ever had. I don't know why. The day before was a rest day. I have no idea why. My parasympathetic nervous system was on overdrive. And my little app was like, you really should not train today, is basically what it said. Well,
you're like, fuck that.
I'm in meat prep. I don't have to train. Baby. Right. So knowing all that now in hindsight, it's like, okay, there was just something else going on with my body. And it's no big deal. It was a bad day. It doesn't have to become a bad week or a bad month. I don't have to pull out of my meat. I don't have to let that spiral out of control.
Yeah.
And that's where I realized like personal growth on mindset is huge. Like you can turn this stuff around, because I didn't do any of those things. I still struggled. So what I ended up doing with this mentally challenging day is that I reached out to people. So I reached out to you. I reached out to my coach. I reached out to another training partner, literally sent them videos just like, what do you guys think about this? Without really saying much. Like, what do you think about this? Because I knew there was a potential that I was being hard on myself.
You? Never.
Yeah, I know, right? And then doing that also allowed me to acknowledge my feelings, which helped to give me a little perspective just like talking about it. Sometimes if you are being a little bit irrational, just talking about it and hearing yourself say these things or seeing yourself write them, you're like, maybe I'm being a little...
This seems dramatic.
Yeah, dramatic. That's a good word. Yeah. And then that helps you feel less isolated. So I reached out, I acknowledged my feelings, I got perspective, I felt less isolated immediately. Like, okay, there are people that are supporting me that are like, it's cool. Like it's going to be fine. Just like do
Breathe.
better or whatever. Yeah.
For the record, I did not say do better. That was not me.
I think I said do better.
Okay, I just want to make that clear. I was more like breathe. Kristin, I know you're having a bad day. Do better.
And then so here's what then I had to do the rest of the training was I battled that the whole rest of my training. I battled that, like, stay in it, stay present. Don't let what happened on squats affect deadlift or your accessories. And it was hard.
Yeah.
It was really hard. I also was beating myself up about my like physique. I would watch the videos and be like, when did I turn into a marshmallow? Like, I'm telling you, this was like some bad negative mindset stuff that was creeping in. And I had to actively, like every set, I was like, just focus on this set, do this set. You are better than what your mind is trying to tell you you are right now. And it was hard, but so I stuck with it. I smashed the rest of my training. It took me forever. I took really long rests on stuff because I was like starting to spiral out of control and had to pull myself back. Not a good day.
No.
Okay. But here's what happened. I got home and I reflected on it. And I thought, what exactly was I feeling? Like, was there anything that triggered these feelings? And I was able to identify a couple of things that I feel like kind of triggered those feelings. And so I managed that. I dealt with that, or at least acknowledged that. And I meditated. And so that always helps me to like calm and reset my brain. And then also, I think something that's really important that a lot of people overlook is like just sitting with your feelings and processing them. Like, don't try to ignore them. Acknowledge that they're happening. Acknowledge the fact that maybe you're being irrational or that you feel really sensitive about something. And like sit with those feelings. And I think that's something that meditation allows us to do, is just to sit with them and let them like kind of process and work through us.
Yeah. Don't let them. One of my favorite authors who is escaping, Elizabeth Gilbert.
I love Elizabeth Gilbert.
She says, you know, you can think about your journey as a car. You're driving the car and all of your emotions are sitting in the back seat. Sometimes those emotions are going to want to creep into the passenger side seat, and that's okay. That's fine. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to let those emotions take over the car. So you want to say, hey, I see you're scared, or I see you're frustrated, or I see you're upset. That's okay. We can be upset. We can be scared. It is scary. You can be fearful.
Right.
But don't let the fear and the worry and whatever drive your car wherever it's going.
That is the most amazing analogy. I love that. That's totally true.
She's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still have those emotions and go about your day. They cannot take over your day.
No.
Yeah. And so then the other thing that I did was just, I talked to my husband about it, and he's like typical guy. He was like, what? Like, I don't understand. What's the problem? And I'm like, you know what? The problem doesn't matter really. What I'm telling you is I just need a little extra support. So he made me a nice dinner. We sat and we talked, just not about that, just about anything. We watched a funny show together. Like, we just had a nice evening. And then I got a really good night's sleep, woke up, crushed training the next day, and everything's been fine. And so I said this before, but I recognize like the difference between how I handled that versus how I would have handled that in the past. And that growth is huge. And so that's one thing that I'm doing this week, is like celebrating what I did great and being happy about, like, I had a bad day, but I recovered from it so well. And I think that we also have to focus on that. Like, how did we manage that and how did we recover from it?
Yeah. And if you're in like my shoes and you get a text from someone who's having a rough day, I think it can be a very sensitive situation. Because like, for example, the marshmallow thing, feeling like a marshmallow thing. There is literally nothing I can say that's going to make Kristin not think the way that she's thinking. But if you are a friend and someone's reaching out to you and they're having a bad day, what you can do is listen. And you can say, I see that you're feeling these things. I validate that you're feeling these things. Just know that when you come out of this thing, like none of that's true. Right. You're strong, you're capable, whatever. Don't tell them that they're not a marshmallow, because then they're gonna be like, well, you're just saying that because I told you I'm a marshmallow.
Right.
You just say like, hey, it's okay to feel that. I have days that I feel absolutely disgusting. Right. Followed by days that you're like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Right.
So as a support person, I would suggest, highly recommend, don't try to fix their problem. Just be like, hey, I'm an ear. I'm here to support. Let's get through this. What do you need? Like, let's get through this together.
Yeah. And I think that's huge, is like not trying to fix it, because you can't fix it.
No,
you can't fix it for me. No one can fix it for me. But just knowing like, oh, hey, she heard me and she understands I'm going through a rough time. And I think like, and you allowed me to feel that way. You weren't like, no, you're wrong.
Yeah, no,
you just allowed me to feel that way. And that's huge.
The second I say, no, you're wrong, you're like, excuse me, I'm right. And that's not just like Kristin herself, but that's anyone. Like if you are standing in front of someone and you say, does X make me look fat? Which is my least favorite question in the entire world. I will never ask that question. And I know a lot of you have asked that question, but think of this for a second. If someone says, if you ask, does this make me look fat? Or does this make me look a certain way? And they say, no. In your brain, are you saying, cool, I'm validated, everything's fine? Or in your brain, are you thinking, oh, they're just saying that because I asked the question?
They're just saying that.
Yes.
Totally. Yep.
That's
what you're going to think.
If you feel a certain way, nothing anyone says is going to fix the problem. Sometimes just talking about it makes you feel better.
Yep.
But like, if you have an issue, then you're feeling it and those feelings are valid. You got to figure out a way to work through it.
Right.
Yeah. So I had something similar it's been a couple months of just letting a bad day, bad week, bad month kind of spiral out of control. And it all stemmed from that injury that I had, right? Because I was feeling kind of useless and hopeless, because I went from like cloud 9 to negative 100 real quick.
And it's taken you a long time to recover from that. It's been a long recovery.
Yeah, and still not full. I don't think it will ever be a fully recovered thing. I think it's just something I might have to live with, which has completely changed my perspective on training and what my goals are and everything. But it took me a very long time because for a while I was like forcing myself to go to training. I was forcing myself to do these things that made me miserable, and I was in pain and I was uncomfortable and I hated it. And I finally had to recognize, and maybe this is something, if you are going through a hard time with training, I know we had someone reach out in our Eat for Strength course about this. They're having a difficult time with training and they're wondering if it's okay to switch things up. And for me, I was going through the motions and I was just hating everything about everything. And it was finally about a week ago that I sat down and I thought, what is the most important thing to me? What are the most important things to me right now? And you know what didn't make the top 5? Competing. Like that was the biggest thing that was bothering me. Is I don't want to compete right now. Like I don't care to compete. I don't care what my numbers are. I care to go out into my garage and do a really hard workout for an hour, 2 hours, and then come back into my world of podcasting and video editing and content creating and kittens. Like that's the world I want to live in. And it took me forever to settle with that, because we have Female Strength Academy, we have Empowered by Iron. I felt like a fraud that all of a sudden I didn't want to compete. I don't want to not lift. Don't get me wrong. It was just competing was
right. But if you think about, this is something that gives me a lot of perspective a lot of times, is when I think about like, what would I tell a friend in this situation? What would you tell one of our listeners in this situation? If you don't want to compete,
don't.
That's fine. Do you still want to lift? And what does lifting mean to you? Because I would say probably half of our listeners don't compete.
Right.
They just lift because they like how it makes them feel. It empowers them.
Correct. Well, yeah, it's just something that I finally had to come to terms with. The lovely, lovely supporter listener in our Eat for Strength group, what I eventually told her was just like, hey, like, you need to be patient with yourself. If you don't want to go in and do the big 3, if you don't want to go on an Olympic lift and you just want to go in and do bro stuff, just go in and do bro stuff. Yeah. There's going to be a time in your life that things are going to be put on the back burner. And I'm just at a time in my life where competing is on the back burner. And so I'm just kind of doing my own thing. You know, I don't have a coach anymore. I've just decided, and I feel at peace with the decision to just, just lift
in a way that makes you happy.
Yes. And I can tell you, kind of like how Kristin had that bad day, I was having bad days basically every time when I felt like I had to go in and do this training thing and I was letting people down if I didn't. My mental state is day and night. If I make training 3 days a week, fine. If I make it 5 days a week, fine. If I make it 2 days a week, whatever. I mean, I still have a somewhat plan, but it's nothing that I have to do.
Right. You do it because you want to do it and because you like how it makes you feel, and it serves a different purpose in your life right now.
Yeah.
But it's still important. It's just important in a different way.
Exactly. It's more of a release than a need to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so bringing it all around, having bad days does not make you a terrible person. It doesn't make you this person who's failing. We are all going to have bad days. You know, even the most positive person you follow on social media is going to have a bad day. Now, whether they choose to share it or not is their prerogative, but they're going to have a bad day. And it's just how you, as Kristin said, how you handle it and how you walk yourself through it patiently and with love is how the next day is going to go, how the next week is going to go. If you sit with it, if you sulk in it, if you make it a big deal like 23-year-old Kristin would, you are going to have a bad week, and then you're going to have a bad month. And then before you know it, it may be a bad 6 months.
Absolutely.
But if you can pull it together, like Kristin did.
Yeah. And that all comes from a place of feeling worthy of yourself in your life, and loving yourself.
Yeah.
That's the root of all of it.
Yeah. Which can be hard if you have a hobby like lifting, and then you have people around you who don't understand, who are maybe supportive about it. So if you have a bad day, they are not empathetic into what it feels like to have a bad day training session. Because a lot of times, if it's someone who doesn't lift and someone who doesn't understand, if you say you had a bad training session, they're like, whatever, you're just at the gym working out. Get over it.
Right.
But this is why it's important to have friends you can reach out to, like Kristin. Like, find people, even if it's on the internet, if you can just reach out to someone who understands, just for them to be like, hey man, it's cool. You're going to be fine tomorrow. Just to have that and have someone understand that, yes, it's training. Yes, it's not like the worst thing in the world, but right now it feels like the worst thing to you. Just to have someone validate how you're feeling.
Absolutely. I like it.
Thank you. So the first thing she said was, as I said, to reach out to people. So if you don't have people you can immediately reach out to, start taking applications.
I think I really like Instagram for this, because Instagram, as much as we bag on social media sometimes, Instagram really can be a place where you can meet like-minded people. If you don't have anyone in your area or your gym that trains or understands, like, make Instagram friends. I have all sorts of Instagram friends that I've never met, and we support each other and lift each other up, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it can be a good and bad thing, so make it a good thing.
Right.
The second thing is reflect. Why are you having a bad day? Did something happen last week? Did you have a bad interaction? Is something bother you? Are you stressed about something? Is it something related to training or unrelated to training? It's good to identify the problem so you can figure out a solution. The next thing is meditate, or just sit with your feelings. Don't try to fight your feelings. Don't try to say, no, I can't have a bad day. let it have a bad day. Let it sulk. If you need to like go get a little bit of ice cream, not the whole thing, but like a little bit of ice cream, and that makes you feel good, then do it. Just let your feelings sit with you.
For sure. I will say one of my husband's, one of his solutions to this was, you want me to take you to get some ice cream? And I know, which was really sweet. And I was like, actually, that's not going to solve my problem. So, and like, I recognize because I've been down that road. I was like, that's not going to solve my problem. I just want to hang out with you. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
So there you go. There was some type of sitting and making you feel better. And then number 4, maybe figure out what you need to do to like relax that night.
Yeah. Self-care.
Self-care. If that means take a bubble bath, take a bubble bath. If that means read a book, do that. Watch TV, work on your business. Not saying that anyone here gets too involved in her business and ignores the world.
I don't use work as a coping mechanism ever.
Not even one time. And then make sure, I think this is important, get yourself a good night's sleep. A good night's sleep will solve so many problems. I know this is completely unrelated to training and lifting, but on a couple days ago, I was very overwhelmed with kittens as per usual, but I got little bottle babies, which need to be fed every couple hours. And so that means I was up multiple times a night. And we were able to find them a nursing mom to give them to her. And I was like feeling it that day. I was like on edge. I wanted to cry. Everything was falling apart. Got 8 hours of sleep.
Feel brand new.
It's a whole game changer.
Yeah, seriously. We need to do a whole podcast on just like how not getting enough sleep affects everything in life.
Well, just starting with your brain, we can give a little teaser. In your brain, it's surrounded by what's called cerebral spinal fluid. So it's the CSF. It's this liquidy stuff that like protects your brain. It's nutrient delivery and waste disposal system of your brain. And at night when you sleep, your CSF basically filters through your brain and takes out all the cellular debris, all the crap that's been released from your cells in your brain, your neurons, and gives it a clear, brand new CSF for the morning. So when you wake up,
like running the dishwasher overnight.
You're running your brain dishwasher overnight. And if you stop the cycle mid-cycle, you still have dirty dishes.
Yep.
So if you don't get your full night's rest, you have dirty dishes in your brain, and your brain's not going to function properly because there's all this crap around it.
Yep.
That's just a little
very
teaser.
Good. Very, very
Thanks.
good.
That was what my PhD was about.
She's really smart.
Oh, God. Okay. So I think that's it.
I think that's it. So basically, don't let a bad training day turn into a bad week or bad month or bad 6 months. And don't beat yourself up because you had a bad training day and like you've been working on mindset and doing all this stuff. Don't beat yourself up because you had one bad day. It doesn't mean that you haven't been doing all this personal growth work. You're doing it. You're doing the work. Just don't let it take over.
And doesn't even have to be a bad training day. Don't let a bad day affect everything. Because like Kristin said, hers was kind of like a bad day that just kind of crept into everything. It
wove its little web throughout my whole life that day.
Blech.
Right.
Okay, well, that's it. We would love to hear how you guys are using these techniques to help you overcome some of your bad days and how you didn't let a bad day turn into a bad week or a bad month or a bad year. We want to hear everything. So you can email us at femalestrengthacademy@gmail.com, or even easier, find the Instagram post for this episode and leave us a comment in the comment section. Let us know and we'll read some of them on the next episode.
Love it.
Because we want to hear everything about what's going on with you guys. Okay? If you haven't already, make sure that you are part of our Female Strength Academy Facebook group page. We do Facebook Lives there every single week. We answer your questions. It's a great time and just a great little community. So if talking about having someone to reach out to,
there you go.
If you're part of that group, you have almost 700 plus ladies who understand what you're going through and who can help you through what you're going through.
For sure.
For sure. And if you haven't snagged a t-shirt, they're on the website. And keep your eyes open for some product dropping, like powerlifting programming.
Ooh. Soon.
Very soon. Okay. That is it. Keep your mindset right. And as Stacey Van Burr says, today is a good day to have a good day.
See you later, ladies.
Bye, guys.